Today we're talking about how to deal with someone else's variable performance when you're not their manager or producer. It can be super frustrating when this person isn't pulling their weight and you have to deal with the consequences. We're going to talk about how to keep calm and get the changes made or happen that you need to have happen. Hi, I'm Jenn and this is Jenn's Generally Good Game Production Advice. I'm a veteran games producer who loves helping teams ship their games on time, on budget, with a happy team. In this advice column, I help out game developers who are having problems on their teams. Today's question is, how do you work with a tech director whose performance is great when they're on, but output is so dismal and we miss deadlines and then my work needs to get cut? Why won't the bosses fire them? This sounds like a really horrible situation, and I can just hear your frustration and hear those emotions coming in. Unfortunately, those bosses are going to kind of unfairly dismiss what you're saying unless you can be convincing in a way that they can understand. And that's likely going to mean that you've got to try to put aside your emotions when having conversations with people. To get the ball going, you need to fully consider your personal perspective and what you're seeing of the situation. You have noticed a pattern, right? What is that pattern exactly? When does it start? How does it play out? Why is this person's behavior such a big deal for you? What are the results of their actions? How does it impact the rest of the team? And related to this, think about your intent in trying to solve this problem. Think about all the top level things that others in the team can also agree on, like we want to ship our game on time. We don't want to throw out work. We want to have predictable sprints and things like that. It does sound weird, but there is no need to come up with solutions yourself. That's something the tech director will come up with themselves, hopefully. And if they can't, then production or somebody else in the conversation is going to try to come up with a solution. If you try to problem solve for them, like, hey, the only way is to fire this person, then people are going to focus on that and they're going to throw out what you're saying entirely rather than focusing on the pattern and results that you've noticed. After you've done this introspection, next up, you're going to be talking about what you found. You're going to have conversations along these lines. My intent is, and then you say why this conversation is important in a way that draws the other person in. I'm observing a pattern where, and then you put in your specific observations about that the tech director isn't doing their work. This means that, and then you put in the results that you've noticed. And then you follow up with I'm wondering what we can do together. Do you have any ideas? And this draws them into the conversation. If they don't happen to have ideas, maybe then you can suggest something by saying, would it make sense to, where you invite the other person to continue to be engaged and try to come up with solutions on their own. In all of these in the conversations that you're going to have, take out your negative emotions. You need to be genuinely curious, genuinely. Remember, you don't really know what's causing these issues for the tech director. It could be something bad going on in their personal life. Maybe it's predictable, like school holidays. It could be that they don't like a particular type of work. Find out what type of work that is. It might be that they're totally in over their heads and maybe need to get demoted, or maybe they just need some additional support from someone. The hope is that if you're calm and curious, the conversation is going to lead to bringing other people in and solutions being found that everybody believes in. Who you choose to talk about this with is going to depend on your relationship with the tech director, both personally and professionally. You could talk to them directly on your own if you have a very good relationship already with them. You could also choose to talk to them with somebody else, like a producer, manager, or HR, and get the three of you in a conversation. Or you could just kind of go directly to your producer, manager, or HR as well. I've kind of listed those in order from like what's best to try. It's much better to go to them first, and then your final resort of go around them. Let's talk about what you might say in these conversations then. So we've talked about the generics, but if you're talking to the person involved, the tech director, this is really where that genuine curiosity is just going to be absolutely essential. You don't want that person to be backed into a corner where they just lash out defensively or start targeting you even. There really is some sort of mystery going on with their performance, and you want them to be getting curious about it as well. I believe that most people want to do well at their work. So if you come into that conversation with curiosity rather than blame, then you're going to have a better chance of getting through to this person. Of course, some people are just jerks, but you do need to give people a chance to change first and then maybe make that judgment call. The dream here is that once they can see their own behavior, they may not even realize they're doing what they're doing, and they're hopefully going to come up with their own solutions to change. Some useful questions you can throw into this conversation can be, how can I help support you? I'm curious what this looks like from your perspective. Next up, the option is to try to talk with HR and management with the person involved. This could be difficult to set up since you don't want it to seem like super confrontational. You could try saying, will you come with me to talk to X, the manager, so we can discuss a pattern that I've been noticing in our deadlines, or whatever your intent is. And if they don't want to be part of that conversation, then you should just jump to directly talking to that other person without the tech director. If they do want to have that conversation, then that conversation you're having with the three of you is probably going to be a little bit similar to how you would just talk to the manager. So let's go into looking at that, how to talk to HR management production about this person. You could start with something like, I don't want to overstep my role here, but I want to ensure that you are aware of the impact on the rest of the team. You should show humility and diplomacy in this conversation. Some useful phrases could be, my co-workers' actions are affecting my ability to do my work, and I'm not having any luck addressing it. I need your help. I really want to state your intent, and I need your help to do that. I'm curious what's happening here for you. You could also go more specific, like, how can we avoid mismatches in what we expect the tech director to do and what actually happens? Or more generally, how do you think we could make more accurate predictions on everybody's work output? Or another way to approach the situation could be saying, everyone's under so much stress. Can we talk about how we can support one another and the team? You should be asking explicitly for change. In fact, you could have asked directly that of the tech director as well. However you do ask for change, do set a fixed time where you're going to check back in on it. If that change is a simple process, like changing something in how sprints are run, then the timeline is likely to be 1 to 2 sprints. If that change is about the tech director changing their behaviors, then you probably need a much bigger time frame, such as 3 months. And that's because you can't really expect instant change when it comes to someone's behavior. I mean, you know how hard it is to change your own behavior, right? All right, that's all I want to talk about with talking and conversations. I'm going to finish with a few suggestions for solutions, but like I say, it may not be your place to bring these up. So you could say that you won't start your work until the tech director has finished their part, and that way you would know whether there will or won't be enough time to finish and implement your work within the game. You can ask everyone, not just the tech director, to create time estimates for tasks and then keep track of how much was actually done. And this isn't meant to be a competition, it's about getting individuals to predict their own output better. If you are involved directly in planning estimates, then you can allow more buffers to deadlines. You could predict the output from the tech director to be significantly less than for other people. Or you could assume that the tech director is always going to be delivering late and not reveal that information to the tech director, which can be a little bit tricky, obviously. But your overall goal here is really to try to get this person, the tech director, to change themselves and reduce their performance variability. And if that can't happen for whatever reason, then your goal is going to be to understand as much as possible about this variability so that then the rest of the team can predict it and factor that into all future plans. That's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening. For today's session, I drew some inspiration and drew quotes from this book. If you'd like some advice for your game or team or want to improve your production skills, ask me. I have a website right here. Remember that this is generally good advice and it may not be right for you and your team, even if you're the person who wrote in this question. To help me better, it needs to be a conversation between you and me and your whole team. And you can hire me. Here's my website, jensan.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.